95% of the people listening to this right now will never build real wealth. Not because they are lazy, not because they were born in the wrong family, not because the economy is against them, but because no one ever taught them the rules of the game. And you cannot win a game whose rules you don't know. I'm not saying that to discourage you. I'm saying it because I believe you deserve the truth, and the truth is uncomfortable. The truth is that most people will spend 40 years of their life working for money, and at the end of those 40 years, they will have almost nothing to show for it. Not because they didn't try. Because they were never given the right information. Think about it for a second. How many times have you said to yourself this year, I will finally start saving? How many times have you thought, when I get a raise, then I will start investing? How many times have you opened your banking app, seen a number that made you anxious, and immediately closed it without wanting to think about it? Those 3 moments have one thing in common. They are all symptoms of the same disease, and that disease is not poverty. It is the absence of financial education. There are 2 types of people in the financial world. The first type works to earn money. They trade their time for a paycheck. They depend on a boss, a company, a system that can replace them at any moment. They live month to month, always one unexpected expense away from a crisis. They tell themselves things will get better when they earn more. But more never seems to be enough. The second type makes money work for them. They understand assets, they understand how time and compound interest transforms small consistent actions into life-changing results. They don't necessarily earn more than the first type. They just think differently. They play by different rules. And over time, those different rules produce a completely different life. One person ends up exhausted at 65, waiting for a pension that barely covers their basic expenses, wondering where the time went. The other built income streams while they slept, traveled, and lived. Both started from similar places. The difference was information and the decision to act on it. In this video, I am going to give you the 5 lessons that separate those 2 people. 5 truths that the traditional education system never taught you. 5 shifts in thinking that the 5% who build real wealth have already made. And I promise you this, if you apply even just one of these lessons starting this week, you will already be ahead of the vast majority of people around you. These are not theories. They are not motivational phrases designed to make you feel good for 10 minutes. And then forget everything. They are practical, actionable principles that you can begin implementing with whatever you have right now. No matter your income, no matter your age, no matter where you are starting from. Now before we dive in, I want to ask you something. If you find value in this content, if this is the kind of financial education you wish someone had given you years ago, subscribe to this channel and activate the notification bell right now. Every week I research investing, financial markets, and wealth-building strategies so you can learn faster and make smarter decisions with your money. This community is built for people who are serious about changing their financial future, and remember this before we begin. Knowledge that you never act on is just entertainment. It feels productive, it feels like progress. But information without action changes nothing. So, as we go through each lesson today, I want you to think about one specific thing you can do differently starting tomorrow. That is the only way any of this matters. Now let's get into it. Let's start with the first lesson. And this one is going to challenge something that most people believe is a virtue. Saving money is making you poorer. I know that sounds wrong. I know everything you were ever told points in the opposite direction. Save more. Spend less, be responsible, have a safety net. Those are the messages we received growing up, from our parents, from our teachers, from every personal finance article written in the last 50 years. And I am not here to tell you that saving is bad. Saving is necessary. But saving alone, without understanding what to do next, is a slow and silent financial mistake that costs people tens of thousands of dollars over the course of their lifetime. Here is what no one explains clearly enough. Money sitting in a traditional savings account is not neutral. It is not simply waiting for you. It is actively losing value every single day. And the reason for that is inflation. Inflation is the rate at which the purchasing power of money decreases over time. When inflation is running at 5% per year, something that costs $100 today will cost $105 next year. Your money didn't shrink on paper, but what it can buy absolutely did. And the problem is that most savings accounts pay somewhere between 0.5 and 1% in annual interest, which means inflation is eating your money 3, 4, sometimes 5 times faster than your bank is growing it. This is not a small problem. This is a structural wealth trap that affects millions of people who are doing everything they were told to do and still falling behind. Let me make this real with 2 people. Carlos is 30 years old. He works hard, lives modestly, and disciplines himself to save $500 every single month. He puts it all in his savings account because that feels safe, that feels responsible. Over the next 20 years, he accumulates $120,000. He is proud of that number. He should be. It took real sacrifice. But here is the part that hurts. Those $120,000, adjusted for an average inflation rate of just 4% per year, have the real purchasing power of approximately $65,000 from when he started. Carlos worked to full decades, made real sacrifices, said no to things he wanted, and ended up with nearly half the financial power he thought he had built. Not because he was irresponsible, because no one told him that saving without investing is like running on a treadmill. You feel like you're moving, but you're not going anywhere. Now look at Sophia. Sophia is also 30. She also saves $500 a month, same discipline, same sacrifice. But Sophia puts her money into a diversified index fund with a historical average return of 8% per year. She doesn't try to pick stocks. She doesn't follow market news obsessively. She simply automates her investment on the first of every month and lets time do the work. By 50, Sophia has approximately $294,000. Not $120,000, $294,000, from the exact same $500 per month. The difference between Sophia and Carlos is not income. It is not intelligence. It is not luck. It is one decision, the decision to make her money move instead of letting it sit still. Think of it this way. Water that sits in one place long enough becomes stagnant. It stops being useful. It starts to work against you. But water that flows, that moves, that finds its way through the landscape, generates energy, sustains life, creates something, money works exactly the same way. The moment you stop thinking of your savings as something to protect and start thinking of them as something to deploy, everything changes. Now, I want to give you 3 concrete actions you can take this week. Not next month, not when you feel ready. This week. First, calculate exactly how much money you currently have sitting in low-yield accounts. Get the real number. Most people avoid this step because the truth makes them uncomfortable. Do it anyway. Second, spend 30 minutes researching index funds or ETFs available in your country. You do not need to be a financial expert to get started. You need a basic brokerage account and the willingness to begin. The learning happens as you go. Third, decide on a fixed amount to invest every month no matter what. It can be $50, it can be $200. The amount matters far less than the consistency. Automate it if you can, so the decision is never left to willpower. The biggest financial mistake is waiting until you know enough to feel confident. That moment never comes. You start, and then you learn. Sophia did not start because she was an expert. She started because she understood one simple truth. A dollar moving in the right direction is worth 10 times more than a dollar sitting still. And if you think the problem stops at how you save your money, the next lesson is going to challenge you even more. Because the issue goes deeper than your bank account. It lives in how you define wealth itself. Second lesson, and this one is personal because almost everyone listening to this has made this mistake at some point. Some of you are making it right now without realizing it. Earning more money will not make you rich. Let that sit for a moment. Because it goes against everything we were conditioned to believe. Work harder, get the promotion. Negotiate the raise, land the bigger client. Earn more and everything else will fall into place. That is the story we were sold. And it is one of the most financially dangerous stories a person can internalize. Here is the reality. Income is what flows into your life. Wealth is what stays, and those two things are not the same. They are not even close to the same. You can have an enormous income and zero wealth. And you can have a modest income and build extraordinary wealth over time. The variable that determines which path you end up on is not how much you earn. It is the gap between what you earn and what you keep. Think about someone you know, or maybe someone you have heard about, who earns a strong salary. A doctor, a senior executive, a successful attorney. From the outside, their life looks like evidence that the formula works. Nice home, new car, good restaurants, international vacations. And yet, if you could look at their actual financial picture, what you would often find is a net worth that doesn't match the lifestyle at all. Credit card debt, car loans, a mortgage that stretches the budget every month, and a savings account that never seems to grow no matter how many raises they receive. This is not rare. This is one of the most common financial patterns that exists. And it has a name: lifestyle inflation. Lifestyle inflation is what happens when your expenses automatically expand to consume whatever income you generate. You earn $2,000 a month and your life costs $2,000 a month. You get a raise and suddenly you earn $3,000 a month. And within 6 months, your life costs $3,000 a month. The number changed. The equation didn't. The gap between what comes in and what stays is still zero. And a zero gap, no matter how large the income, produces zero wealth. The 5% who build real wealth have figured out something that sounds almost too simple. They decide in advance what percentage of every dollar they earn will never be touched for lifestyle expenses. They treat that percentage as non-negotiable. They invest it before they pay rent, before they buy groceries, before they do anything else. And then they build their entire lifestyle around what remains, not the other way around. The 95% do it backwards. They pay for their life first. They tell themselves they will invest whatever is left at the end of the month. And at the end of the month, there is never anything left. Because lifestyle always expands to fill available income, it is not a willpower problem. It is a structural problem, and the solution is structural too. Let me show you what this looks like in real life. Miguel is a management consultant. He earns $8,000 a month, which puts him comfortably in the upper income bracket for his city. He drives a new car that he finances monthly. He rents a premium apartment in the best neighborhood. He takes to international vacations every year and eats at good restaurants several times a week. His life, by most external measures, looks successful. But when you look at his actual numbers, the picture is different. At 42 years old, Miguel has $15,000 in savings and $60,000 in consumer debt. His net worth is negative $45,000. He has been earning well for 15 years and is financially worse off than someone with no income and no debt. Every month he earns more, spends more, and stays exactly in the same place. Now look at Laura. Laura earns $3,500 a month, significantly less than Miguel. She drives a car she bought 8 years ago and paid off completely. She rents a modest apartment in a quiet neighborhood. She rarely takes vacations and cooks most of her meals at home. From the outside, her life might not look as impressive as Miguel's, but here is what her numbers look like. At 42 years old, Laura has $180,000 split between investment accounts and real assets. Her net worth is $180,000. She has built more real financial security on less than half the income by doing one thing consistently. Every single month, on the day she gets paid, she moves 20% of her income into investments before she pays for anything else. Her lifestyle is built around what remains, not around her total income. The difference between Miguel and Laura is not talent. It is not opportunity. It is not luck. It is one structural decision made every single month without exception. Here is the principle that changes everything when you truly internalize it. Rich people buy assets first and pay for their lifestyle with what remains. Everyone else pays for their lifestyle first and buys assets with what remains. And since lifestyle always expands to consume available income, everyone else ends up buying almost no assets at all. Think of it like two farmers working adjacent fields. The first farmer has the larger plot of land. Every harvest season he brings in a substantial yield. But every year he throws a celebration for the entire village, spends everything he earned, and starts the next season with nothing saved. Nothing planted for the future, nothing compounding in the background. The second farmer has a smaller plot. His harvests are modest. But every single season, before he spends anything, he sets aside seeds for the next planting. He reinvests a portion of everything he produces. Year after year, his field grows. His yields increase. His options multiply. 20 years later, the first farmer still depends entirely on each new harvest to survive. The second farmer has a farm that practically runs itself. Money works exactly the same way, so what do you do with this starting this week? First, calculate your actual net worth right now. Not your income, not your salary, your net worth. Take everything you own of financial value and subtract everything you owe. That single number tells you more about your financial health than your paycheck ever could. Most people have never calculated this number honestly. Calculate it today. Second, implement what I call the 20 before 1 rule. The moment your income arrives, before you pay a single bill, before you buy a single thing, move 20% into an investment or savings vehicle that you do not touch. If 20% feels too aggressive for where you are right now, start with 10. But start, the percentage matters less than the habit of doing it first rather than last. Third, make a conscious decision to freeze your lifestyle for the next 12 months. This does not mean suffering. It means that any increase in income you receive during that period, a raise, a bonus, a freelance project, goes entirely into building your financial foundation rather than upgrading your life. Your lifestyle stays exactly where it is. Your wealth begins to move. Miguel's problem was never his income. His income was extraordinary. His problem was that he never created a gap between what he earned and what he spent. Laura's success was never about deprivation. She lived a full and comfortable life. She simply decided that wealth was built in the gap, and she protected that gap every single month like her future depended on it, because it did, and yours does too. The next lesson goes even deeper because what we have talked about so far, where you put your money and how much you keep, those are strategies. But underneath every strategy is something more fundamental. Something that determines whether you will ever actually follow through on any of this. And that is what we are going to talk about next.